and that is normality, right? So that being the case, I'm asking another question now. Why then do we need religion if we can be good without being religious? Anyone? Yeah?
It's actually different from being religious because it separates us from God. It's an activity, a character of God which has something to do with God.
No.
Religion will bring in us consciousness of what our Lord, which is worship.
No. The answer is that from our brother is that religion brings the consciousness of a God in us, which is separate from being good, which is the nature in which Allah has created us. But where I'm actually going is that scholars have divided goodness into two. The basic level of goodness, which is all we have been talking about. And then the higher level, which is only attainable by or through religion. In our case, through Islam. And I will give example to corroborate this. You see, zina, to engage in zina, fornication or adultery, right, will qualify or belong in the list of bad characteristics or manners. And all of us, especially brothers, all of us are potentially liable to committing zina. True or false? True. But there is one reason, or there is something that holds us back, most of us. What is it that holds us back? Islam, taqwa Allah, the consciousness of Allah. This is an example of why we have been created with the basic level of goodness. It takes Islam or religion to attain that higher level of goodness. So whenever somebody will come and say that you don't need religion to be good, yeah, you don't need religion to be good, but you need religion to attain that higher level of goodness. Another example is fraud. People who commit fraud, they are not smarter than you and me. They are not. And there are people who have been in position of authorities where they would have had the opportunities of doing fraud, but who restrain themselves. There must be something holding them back. What is it? It is Islam, the case of the Muslims, because they are constantly aware of the fact that they are accountable, or ultimately will be accountable to someone. And another is suicide. Why is it that you very rarely, has anybody ever heard of somebody committing suicide from any of the countries governed by the laws of Allah? Anybody heard of a Muslim in Saudi Arabia, in Yemen, whereas in the so-called advanced countries of the world, UK, United States, Japan and China are the homes of suicide. Those ones, they only have to tell them off for not meeting their target level in the office, and it is a good enough reason to commit suicide. It cannot be a coincidence that people do not commit suicide in Saudi Arabia, in the Muslim world. Even in Nigeria, it's a reality that somebody commits suicide. In fact, in our own young age, I cannot recollect a case of somebody, certainly in Yoruba land, it's a reality. So it cannot be a coincidence. There is something that stops people from doing this. There's a reason it is prevalent in those parts of the world that we have mentioned, and it is not prevalent in this part of the world, certainly in the Muslim world. Again, it is their religion that holds them back. This again is a reason why, yes, you can attain goodness without religion, but you need religion and you need Islam to attain the higher level of goodness. Recently in the UK, for those of you who follow international news, there is a newspaper, or there was a newspaper called The News of the World. It's a Sunday newspaper. The daily version of it is called The Sun. That paper had existed for more than 100 years. Recently, I think this is in the past 6 months, the owner of that newspaper ended the existence of that newspaper. It closed completely. What happened? This newspaper had a reputation for breaking news, or if you like, breaking scandals, that for some reason other newspapers just couldn't get access to. Somehow, they always found a means of getting the juiciest story in the UK, be it amongst politicians, footballers, sports people, anybody, celebrities. They were always the one. Every Sunday they were just coming up, and it was by far the largest selling newspaper in the UK, and nobody could decode how they were doing it. You know how they were doing it? They had hacked into the mobile numbers, phone numbers of every important person in the UK, such that whenever you are talking, they are listening. Husbands divorced wives, and wives divorced husbands, because issues which were only known to the two of them suddenly found its way into the newspaper. And the wife knows that the only other person that knows about this is my husband. The husband knows that the only person that knows about this is my wife. So this will accuse that, and that would accuse this. But, you know, when you commit crime, you get deeper. Allah makes it easier and easier, and you get deeper and deeper into it. And they finally reached their own Waterloo when one young girl was kidnapped, sexually abused, and murdered. Then that girl had a mobile phone. Then they hacked into the mobile phone of that girl. Nobody could find the phone, clearly, but they hacked into the mobile phone. The parents of that girl, because they suspected that the parents may well have something to do with the mother. Nobody knew what happened. It was a case of a missing girl, officially, but the girl had already been murdered. And they, looking for this juicy story, thought that the parents may well have something to do with the girl's disappearance. So they hacked into the phone of that girl. And whenever the parents would call, you know, in the UK, if you don't answer, your phone automatically goes to voicemail. And the phone will go to a voicemail. And the parents will leave the phone. That's Sarah, come back home, we love you, we miss you. They thought she probably ran away from home. And they were looking for their girl, and they just kept making calls. And then the voicemail got filled up. So when they would call, they were no longer able to leave messages. Then these people, having hacked into the phone, they now deleted the old messages. So the next time the parents called, they found that they were now able to leave a message. And that just gave them false hope that their daughter was still alive, because the only person that would have deleted that message was the girl, or somebody clearly had that phone. So the mother jumped up, saying that she's still alive, she's alive. Somewhere she has deleted the message, we can leave a message. So they continued to leave new messages until one of them got found out. And then he set up a commission of inquiry. And then the number of divorces that resulted as a direct result of their action, hacking into people's phones, even telephone number of the royal family, including the queen, was hacked into. That was how sophisticated they were. They had in their employment hackers whose job was to hack into people's phone and be listening and be supplying them with information. Right? But where am I going with this story? They did this because of inordinate ambition, because of ambition to advance their careers, to sell newspapers and all. Now, would anyone who have religion in them have done, sincerely have religion in them, seeing husbands divorcing wives, seeing people accusing, people sacked their workers at home, people sacked their PAs, people sacked their aides, all of them came out when this thing finally came out, and they revealed the number. There was virtually no celebrity whose number they hadn't hacked into, and people found that even marriages that broke up was just because of these people, not because of that. Now, there was no moral conscience for them, right? All they were concerned about was selling newspaper. Now, if they had Islam in them, would they have gone that far? No. So brothers, whenever somebody will come to you and say that, no, you don't really need religion and all, these are examples of why religion actually makes you a better person. It acts as an influence to restrain you from that which naturally all of us are capable of, but something, that sense of accountability makes us to sit back. So Islam is a training ground for restraining ourselves. And before I returned to Nigeria, I led a Jimoh khutbah in London, and the subject of which was this La Tabidab hadith, do not be angry. And subhanAllah, the following day, one brother did something to me that the real me would have totally lost it, and I would have been able to justify it. But then I was remembering my khutbah yesterday. The brother that spoke to us about La Tabidab, look at him, unable to contain himself. And that khutbah that I did was all that stopped me. And our brother Ibrahim Yahya commended me for holding myself and not reacting. And I just smiled. I just said to him that what helped me was the khutbah of the previous day. I couldn't have been the one that said La Tabidab. And then as soon as the anger came, I was the first to react. But where I am going with this is that those of us in positions of authority are equally expected to exhibit a higher level of good manners, conduct, and characters relative to those that are not in such position. Positions of authorities carry with them higher responsibilities, and that applies to the Amir, to the Amira, to the General Secretary, to the Treasurer, anyone, to the Imam. A lot of our Imams in Yoruba land, they are full of bad manners, the street Imams. And I'm sure you will agree with me, those who had Western education amongst our scholars, they are generally so better behaved than those who are just strictly Alpha. Yes or no? You find an Alpha releasing a record, and the entire record is just abusing another Alpha. There's nothing there for the public to benefit from at all. You see Buhari or Musa who abuse, I've forgotten the name. And then this one will release a record and will fire for fire. And one of them, I do more. I watched this something on there. He released a record, each one of which is about 1 hours. And from start to finish, he did not talk about anything other than replying to Buhari or Musa. And it's very gifted from the way he was talking. If you are to channel it to positive something, now, and then you find them boasting. There was one of Buhari or Musa that I watched. He was standing, and then his umbrella, got caught under his leg. He was stepping on his umbrella, and his boy came and removed the umbrella for him. And the next thing he said, and it was a lie, It is just not being able to stop themselves when they got into their rhythm. And then he was saying to the boy that next time, don't remove the umbrella. It is there for a purpose. I was stepping on it in the way that I will be stepping on my enemies. These are things that are unbecoming of an Alpha, and it just shows ignorance of certain traits that are expected of people's position, because these are people who are expected to guide the rest of us. And Allah, in many places in the Quran, it talks about this manner, especially in relation to those in position of authority. For instance, where it says, وَأَحْسِنِ كَمَا أَحْسَنَ اللَّهُ. Let me start from the beginning. That the وَابْتَغِ فِيهِمَا أَتَاكَ اللَّهُ دَارَ الْآخِرَةِ وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا وَأَحْسِنِ كَمَا أَحْسَنَ اللَّهُ إِلَيْكَ وَلَا تَبْغِ الْفَسَادَ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُفْسِدِينَ. Allah was only addressing people of status, people of authority, people of positions. Allah was addressing the imams and the governors and the presidents. He says, وَابْتَغِ فِيمَا أَتَاكَ اللَّهُ دَارَ الْآخِرَةَ وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا, saying that use that position which we have given you to buy for yourself a place in the hereafter, and do not forget to buy for yourself a place in the on earth as well. وَأَحْسَنُ كَمَا أَحْسَنَ اللَّهُ إِلَيْكَ. Be kind to others, those under you, in the manner that Allah has been kind to you. When He has raised you out of the hundreds of people, when He could have raised any one of those hundreds of people. By choice, He raises you. وَلَا تَبْغِ الْفَسَادَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. Do not use that position to cause fasad on the earth. Who is Allah addressing here? People of status, people of authority. Because Allah knows that what they are capable of doing with their status and with their authority. Elsewhere, says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَقُولُوا قَوْلًا سَدِيدًا يُصْلِحْ لَكُمْ أَعْمَالَكُمْ, and so forth. Right? Say that those who believe. He's not talking to even the Muslims now. He's talking to Alladina Amanu. Meaning that even in that category of people, we can say that which is less than good. Akulu qawlan sadida. That say that which is good. In Surah Al-Mu'minun, and a lot of bad manners is exhibited through that which is said, more than any other thing. In Surah Al-Mu'minun, when Allah, and I'm concluding, when Allah is talking about the characteristics of those who are successful, or those who will be successful, He said, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنِ اللَّغْوِ مُعْرِضُونَ. That amongst you, or the qualities for being successful, is that you do not utter that which is bad. Further down the list of those, it says, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لَأَمَانَاتِهِمْ وَأَعْدِهِمْ رَاعُونَ. Those who, when they are put in position of trust, they discharge such trust. These are people who are successful. And elsewhere, Allah talking to the Muslims at large now, rather than those in position of authority or those who are alladhina amanu, Allah says, Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat lin-nas ta'muruna bil ma'ruf wa tanhauna 'anil munkar wa tu'minuna billah. That you Muslims are the best of communities to be created. You know, Allah could have stopped there. But in order to leave us in no doubt, He goes on to define those who the Muslims are. Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat lin-nas ta'muruna bil ma'ruf, right? Wa tanhauna 'anil munkar. You call to that which is good, and you advise to take people away from that which is bad. That is the Muslim that Allah is saying that these are the best of people to be created. So brothers and sisters in Islam, while none of us is permanently good, it is important to always remember that none of us is permanently bad either. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. كبر الله كبر الله كبر الله. Really in pursuit of excellent character. And before we started, maybe we are agitating that what will be the take home from this.
Alhamdulillah for the lecture, and may Allah bless our brother. We don't even need to go out to look for lecturers again. Alhamdulillah. As he was delivering the lecture, I just remember something. Like, all these Christians, when they meet us, hijab sisters, they will say, sister, you are too good and beautiful to be Muslim. So I'll now say, yes, it is Islam that has really made me good and beautiful. If it is the real me, maybe you won't even like me at all. So I just want to keep that in. Alhamdulillah, we are Muslims.
Our lecturer had said that the Westernly educated Muslims are better mannered than the so-called the Afars.
What culturized them?
My little bit disagreement falls on what one man said. He said, to be a wali will never change your innate character. So, not all the local affairs are not well mannered, but those we are talking about, it is their innate character they are exhibiting. So, for you to see somebody who read Quran, studied Hadith, read many Islamic books in Arabic form, still coming out and exhibiting such character, we should make our mind that it is not that education that's working on him, but it is what is in him that is exhibiting. So, if it is educated, that doesn't mean that being uneducated, if he also has that opportunity, will not be worse than that. It's what we discussed in Usrah to the matter. I don't want to go public now because of our cause. We are fighting against those who are fighting against Islam in the universities. What they're exhibiting there is what Abu Musa is doing, but they are doing it in a very trickish manner. So, salam alaikum.
This corruption will first request from our brother. This kind of writing, you see it from the white people or copy from the white source. Honestly, he blends Islam with sociology, with even psychology, and he's bringing everything from inside the Hadith and the Quran. Alhamdulillah, Allah bless our brother. He's a very good one, and I would like to share that paper. I'm trying to indulge him. If you can share it with all of us. Because sometimes ago somebody did something like this and I sent it out to our brother outside. And in fact, it was very pleasant to when they come around to us in Nigeria. So that's my first request. Please, this is a very timely paper and it affects everybody. You can't run away from it. Let's share it with other people. And in fact, even those of us that are here, after this time out, after this session, we may tend to derail. So the better we have closer to us, better for our Islam. And then secondly, what I found out in my own personal experience, and I want to be sincere with you, I'm very emotional from day one. I knew it from when I was born, and alhamdulillah, my interaction in the NSS University, I did a lot of things. But even then, and that's where I'm asking you now, most of the time, the anger and the pride, I knew it, that it is the source of this problem. This is my little exposure to sociology and the rest of it. But what I try to find out is that I'm at a crossroad. If it is somebody that is lower, even as close as wife, to try to practicalize, do not be angry, do not exhibit pride. It's only, it's very convenient if someone is high, like your MD, you want to remember your Islam. You don't want to voice out. I'm not angry now because it's my MD. I'm not proud now because it's my MD. I'm not proud now because my elder brother. Maybe it's supposed to be my son or my wife or somebody, if organizer is in trouble. So how do you help me out? Okay. Because I just look at it as which is this flat. You destroy my car, you burn my car, you still want me, to be kind with you. In fact, if I ever see you in my life again, I can run you down. It's very convenient to say that word to the organizer. But if your boss deliberately, promoted everybody in your unit, despite your contribution, because he hates you and decided not to promote you, you still manage to say, anyway, better time will come. So how can we help a situation where we find somebody that is lower than you and still exhibit this our Islamic yes, I think
we should really thank the lecturer of the day for the thought he gave to us. I'm so glad I'm here today But confirming, I think that you have the 4 years that I ever attended this joint Usrah. I attended the one for the zone anyway, and that I should give my gratitude to the lady. I saw a sister I met at the zonal Usrah. That would not hold because of the rain.
Okay.
And somehow I said I wanted to drop by the bus stop. And fortunately for me, instead of the bus stop at the Allah brought me here. I give so much gratitude to Allah for having this lecture of the day. And I think I would have enjoyed any lecture better than today. So we thank God to have destined the lecturer for another appointment. So mine is a question. I was in the mosque yesterday, and instead of being so glad being in that mosque, I was more confused. I've never experienced it in my life, but this is, Astaghfirullah, is a mosque of Shamsuddin, quote unquote, they are Muslims, whether I want to take it or not. And then the Imam was praying, he said, A'udhu billahi, A'udhu billahi falak, min sharri ma khalaq. That quote was out of it.
Okay.
The same thing again for the Kulios Brother laws. And I asked him, he said, it's cool, he say, and they are saying, so why must it be?
That's the question.
So I think that I need clarification on that.
Okay.
That's the question.
All right.
Do good. To be good to people. How do we know when we are doing good? When you responded. If people say you are good, it means we are good. If people say you are bad, it means we are bad. And that brings us to the distinction between character and reputation, which you mentioned before. People may see you as good, but you mean you will be bad. That means you are hiding something within you. You have bad character, but you are hiding it. That's why people are seeing you as good. But you may be bad. I mean, it may be the other way around as well. But the way to it is that we should use wisdom at all times to conduct our affairs, especially as Muslims. We must not use zeal, enthusiasm to do Islam. Otherwise, we'll come to regret our actions. In his book, Imam Mahmoud Bapa, the former Grand Qadi of Bauchi, he said, as a leader, you must not do anything that will be misinterpreted by the people, that will be misunderstood by the people, even if it is good. You should ensure that you do it in such a way that it will be clearly understood by the people. Otherwise, no matter what your intention is, or what your knowledge is about that action, if it will be misunderstood by the people, or will not be fully understood by them, do not embark on it until you have enlightened them.
First and foremost, I'll speak on the moral challenges. Most often than not, we found out that we have some moral challenges brought us when it comes to businesses, the way we conduct our businesses. I think we should be beating our heart that from this, having listened to this moral transforming lecture today, we should be asking ourselves, how do I take away this negative attitude? And when it comes to issue of money, you see brothers having to even wondering, why is this brother a Muslim, a good Muslim, so to say. I think it's indeed a challenge for us. And when Muhammad was discussing goodness, it is goodness in totality. Not that you choose to be good in one aspect, and you choose not to be good in the other aspect. And to also be specifics, when you are talking of goodness, indeed, it actually starts from a matrimonial home. What is your relationship with your wife? Are you at peace with your wife and your husband? Are you at peace with your children? And indeed, to extended family, we should also take this into consideration. And indeed, our colleagues in our workplaces. Having said that, I hold the whole house, the assignment, the issue, the case on the lingering litigation between the Muslims and the Lagos State government. I think last week we were at the Lagos State, Lagos High Court, challenging the decision of the state government on the ban of the use of jab in the public schools. And indeed, alhamdulillah, what part of what the lecturer actually talked about also manifested, because while I got there, I saw an irate youth already on protest around the court premises. I said, yeah, this is MSS in action. But indeed, at the intellectual grant, the likes of Barrister Fajimite actually led the team of lawyers to the court. And after, because it was actually given a kind of what I can describe as accelerated adjournment, because I myself did not meet the court proceedings, but I just ran into the crowd. But indeed, having observed the tense environment, the lawyer advised that we converge ourselves within the premise of both secretariat, and they actually addressed the crowd, and they said, inshallah, the Lagos State government has actually opted for out-of-court settlement, and that in the court's wisdom, they now gave July 10 as the next hearing. What this means, in essence, is that perhaps when you are talking about out-of-court judgment, it is neither here nor there. So it is actually a legal, reasonable time for both parties to have resolved the matter or otherwise, such that both parties will also have to come back to the court. I think that is the update on the use of hijab. And as Muslims, what we hold the team of Muslim Lawyers Association is our prayers, and also to keep ourselves abreast as development unfold. And lastly is the comment of our lecturer on the UK stuff. I just want to put it straight that I personally, as a Muslim, I persistently have observations about what is coming from the West, especially when it has to do with Islam. I will try to refresh our memory. The last bombing that happened in Boston, was actually perpetrated by Russians, so to say. And indeed, this morning a friend of mine also sent me a link from Facebook. I was actually trying to open it, but the network did not allow me. Was indeed a case of a US soldier that killed 16 children and one woman in Afghanistan. Though the soldier has been tried, but I think if there is anything that could gain the world media condemnation, these are cases like this. So when it happens and it has a kind of Islamic coloration, I think it's usually overbloated, because indeed it is at all times a ploy against Islam, and they never report to us. We never enjoy the patronage, of the media, both locally and internationally. And I was also personally happy while I thought that, as Allah will have it, the lecturer was coming here to tell of Muslims and the media. And indeed, if some of us still believe that the greatest way you can ventilate your grievances is trooping down to the street and having protests, we make use of our social media. All of these are being done by the enemies of Islam, and they are having their way. So I just encourage us as Muslims for us to interact more with our social media, the likes of Facebook, Twitter, and what have you. I think this indeed is my own opinion about what the West are giving to us, and I think they should not always direct our sense of reasoning and the way we perceive things in life. Assalamu alaikum.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. My own view from the